Welcome to day 25 of our challenge. So just 5 days left. Hopefully you're still with me. I know that it was hard last week. I know that this week is a little more challenging and also requires a little bit more equipment. But you'll be glad to know that today all you really need is your body. So today we are going to be focusing on bridging. So with good, strong pelvic floor contractions. And this can be a little hard sometimes to reach the pelvic floor contraction in that position, but this is a really good practice for building a more solid strength, particularly around the hips. Now, if you're working on relaxation, just jump through to the little timestamp in the description instead of doing these strong exercises. Otherwise, you're going to come around to laying on your back. When you come into the position, I want you just to make sure that your feet are close enough that you can just touch them with your middle finger, that your knees are hip distance, so they're in line with the hips, in line with the ankles. Everything is very nicely stacked. Now, when we come up, we're going to take our nice strong pelvic floor contraction before we lift our hips. And before we come up, we're also going to tuck the pelvis a little, which is going to engage the core. So this is the start of getting everything to come together. The glutes will fire quite strongly when we lift up the legs. And we're going to come up with a nice strong pelvic floor contraction, a 5 or a 6. And if you feel nice and balanced there, we're going to actually change a little bit the position of the shoulder, try to get a little deeper into our back bend, and we'll do 2 more rounds where we will actually lift the legs. So I hope you're ready. We're going to just make sure again that you can feel the ankle with your middle finger. Then you know, okay, my hips are in the right place, and make sure that your legs don't open when you're going through this. So we're going to just take that nice strong 5 to 6 contraction on the pelvic floor. So about half as strong, a little more maybe than half as strong as you can actually contract. We're going to roll the pelvis under. So we're getting a little bit of engagement through the core here to support the low back. The hands remain on the floor, lift the hips up nice and high, and once you get them up nice and high, if you feel okay, everything is strong and controlled, interlock the fingers, and we're just going to walk the shoulders a little closer to each other. Now, with each inhalation here, keep that strong contraction on your pelvic floor. With each inhalation, bring your chest a little closer to your chin. With each exhalation, lift your hips a little higher. Inhale, bringing the chest closer to the chin, and exhale, lifting the hips a little higher. Inhale, bringing the chest a little closer to the chin, and exhale, lifting the hips a little higher. Keep holding your strong pelvic floor contraction, and then release the hands, lower everything down, and just let the knees fall together. Take a little moment here. You can do a little rocking of the legs if you want, a little windscreen wipering. That can feel nice, or just allow them to fall together. So I hope that you manage to hold on to that contraction, and I hope that you manage to get the hips a little higher each time and the rib cage a little closer to the chin. Now, bridge positions are back bends, and the reason that we're working to inhale the rib cage closer to the chin is because we're trying to create a little bit of extra length in the low back. So if you keep the feet nicely planted, you keep the hips, keep sending them higher, and keep drawing the rib cage closer to the chin, you're lengthening out the low back, and that stops you from feeling pinching or compression in the low back. You should not feel a pinching sensation. If you do, then you're not quite there yet. So if you felt strong, you were able to bring the rib cage closer to the chin, lengthen out the back, lift the hips higher, and you felt, okay, I got this, then in the next round, you're actually going to lift one leg. Now, when we lift the leg, we don't want the hips to shift. We want the hips to stay exactly where they are. So you need to have good strength, nice strong pelvic floor, nice tilt of the pelvis, good strong glutes, support of the legs. Everything is nice and solid before you lift that leg up to the sky. Now, if you felt that you weren't quite there, then please don't lift the leg. Just please practice with the hips up and keep working on bringing the rib cage closer to the chin. Okay, so let's just feel around, make sure that you can reach for the feet. And then the next is long. Now, I'm trying not to look at the camera while I do this because you really shouldn't be twisting your neck while you're up. The other thing to note when you're interlocking the hands behind your back, the weight is on the shoulders. The weight is not being dumped into the neck. So just be careful with that, be mindful. So we're going to inhale, we're going to take a nice strong pelvic floor contraction, 5 or 6. You're going to hold that throughout. You're going to round through the lower spine, curl the backside under, so everything is nice and strong here. Interlock the hands behind the back, walk the shoulders a little closer to each other, and the weight is in the shoulders here. And then as you inhale, you're going to lift the rib cage closer to the chin, and as you exhale, lift the hips a little higher. Inhale, rib cage closer to chin. Exhale, you keep it there, you don't let it go away from you. Now if you're up and you feel good and strong, we're going to release the right leg, point the toe, keep the hips in one line, and lower it down. So keep the hips, one nice strong line, release the left leg, point the toe, and lower it down. Still holding your strong pelvic floor contraction. Inhale, rib cage closer to the chin. Exhale, lift the hips a little higher, release the hands, release the hips, let the knees fall together. Okay, let's just take a little moment here. So I want you to notice in the next one, and maybe you're already noticing that last one, the difference in the sensation in your pelvic floor when you do the strong contraction in this position. So versus when you were lifting or when you were pushing or when you were pulling, there is again a different sensation. There is a different pull on the pelvic floor when you're in this position. So pay attention, notice how it feels, and make sure that when you're doing these positions that you take that grip of the pelvic floor and that you work on sustaining it throughout this position. So throughout all of the lifting of the legs and the stabilizing of the hips and the reaching of the rib cage away from the chin, because this will help you to build really good all around functional strength in the pelvic floor. Okay, so we go one last time. So again, we're going to lift the legs. So just reach for the heels. If you didn't feel strong enough to lift the legs, or if you lifted the leg and you felt that destabilized you, then you're not ready yet. Just work on getting strong enough to hold everything firm before you go to lift the legs. So let's go. We're going to press into the feet, lift up the hips, roll the shoulders under, get nice and strong, good strong contraction in the pelvic floor. Don't lose it. Release the right leg up towards the ceiling. Stay nice and strong here. Breathe. Don't let go of your pelvic floor. Release the leg. Nice and strong. Keep the hips nice and strong. Release the left leg. Breathe. Keep contracting the pelvic floor. Don't lose your contraction. Release the leg. Then one more inhale, chest closer to chin. Exhale, lift the hips a little higher, and then release. Lower everything down. And this time we're finished. So just squeeze the legs in, take the feet. Happy baby, happy husband, happy lover, whatever you like to call it. This should be an enjoyable pose after the back bend. So we just take a little rocking from side to side here. This is the start of relaxation. So if you've just joined us, come into your happy baby. We're taking a little bit of movement in this one. And then we're going to release the feet. We're just going to straighten the legs, flex the feet, take yourself up. So for now, we're going to go into a wide-legged child's pose. So take the feet nice and wide, the toes are touching. We're going to start with a nice long spine, so nice and tall. We're going to really turn out the sitting bones as we come forward today. And if you need props, you can put props underneath you and just let your head rest. So taking a little moment here to just start to let go of your breath. So allowing the body to do all of the breathing for you. Let the rib cage hang heavy. Let the shoulders relax. And allow the hips to surrender into this position. Notice how it feels in the hips and the knees, so you shouldn't feel any pain. Notice your shoulders. Find the little bit of tension that remains in your body and start to let it go. Bring your awareness down into your pelvic floor, and I want you to start to reach out from the pelvic floor through the glutes. I want you to feel the connection there Feel the sensation. So you've just worked those muscles very strongly together. So try to allow all of those muscles to relax. Feel the expansion through the backside. Allow the weight of your torso to surrender down between your legs. Giving up any effort, not holding yourself, just allowing yourself to surrender. And then taking the first of 3 long, deep breaths. Breathing as though you can breathe into your backside. Feel that the inhalation expands the backside a little. As you exhale, allow the weight of your backside to be heavy on your heels. Inhaling deeply and exhaling completely. One last deep inhalation, and we make some energy movements in our fingers. And very slowly, we begin to walk ourselves up, coming around into a seated position. So that is it for today's little session. I hope that you were able to feel the difference in tension through the pelvic floor in that bridging position versus all of the other positions that we've done on the earlier days. If you can manage to get yourself to a stage where your pelvic floor responds in every position that we've been doing throughout this week, then you will have a pelvic floor that will allow you to run and jump and laugh and sing and dance and do all of the wonderful things that make life joyful. So I wish you a really wonderful day. I hope that you're still with me tomorrow. We're almost there. Have a lovely evening.